People in the public health community had been warning for at least 20 years about the possibility either of a pandemic. When we saw MERS, when we saw the bird flu, there have been various pathogens that could have gone more global and didn't. The public health community was always warning about preparedness for that. So there are a number of serious threats that are widely known that could have presented a similar global threat. I just happened to pick one for narrative purposes. I wanted to see how people, countries, and the political establishment reacted to some very stressful situation. In this case, I wanted to drill down on the behavioral response. People confuse motion with action, so what do they do that they think will mitigate the risk, even if it really won't? I was curious about the politics of it. So in the presence of this external threat, what happens within the political system where people still have their own private incentives? And then I was very interested in the international reaction. So I set up in the book so that the United States was more adversely affected than other countries. I won't give away too much by saying that China had more of the drug that could ameliorate the pathogen than the United States. And so the question is, what does China do, given all the other global conflicts between the United States and China, when they now have this vaccine as a point of leverage? I'm afraid that I got a fair bit right in terms of politicians not necessarily acting in the best interest of the country, of there being profound international tensions. So those tensions are clearly palpable in the present, and they are highlighted in the book. Things that I got wrong, well, sadly, in the book, there is a miracle cure in the form of this drug called Dormagen, and we haven't yet found Dormagen, so I would like to be right on that one. At present, I'm not. I don't think I emphasize the federalism aspect nearly enough. One of the things that is quite striking from someone who does public policy about what's happening now is how there have been different responses across states and even across counties within states. So there's clearly a tension between the flexibility of the federalism and the fact that it can impose adverse costs on the whole system without necessarily having the accountability that we'd like to administer to those places that aren't being good actors. This character is absolutely not autobiographical. Our protagonist is a Dartmouth grad, but he's a science major. I think he studies virology or biology or something like that. I was an Asian studies major. But it did give me a lot of opportunity to use things that I knew about Dartmouth to paint detail around that character. That was both kind of fun. It gives some verisimilitude to the book. Yes, it was really difficult for me to transition from nonfiction to fiction. The big breakthrough was to pretend that the book is nonfiction, to write it as if it actually happened, but to make everything up so it's still fiction. So it's really fiction dressed up as nonfiction, and that was the big breakthrough. I definitely plan to continue writing fiction. I am still writing fiction. In fact, I just had a short story published, which is a very dark look at the college admissions process. So I still think of fiction as a really powerful tool for venting, giving voice to things that I'm seeing around me that are easier to tell in a fictional format, but still have very powerful messages. And I am also working on a novel that has a political theme that kind of marries my work on political polarization with the urge to write fiction.